Hello, friends. At our February meeting of the Experimental Aircraft Association, Chapter 280, I asked our fellow member Russ Emanis if he could give a presentation for our March meeting concerning the progress in the development of his Odyssey and Starlight kit production company. He graciously said he would, and so on Saturday, March the 9th, we had our meeting, and Russ put on a spectacular presentation. I think you're going to find this to be a real treat. I know we did. So without further ado, let's get right into Russ's presentation.
Hi y'all, it's Russ Emanis, proud member here at Chapter 280. Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to sharing with you the progress we've been making. A lot of you already know a lot about Odyssey and the project. It started out as a educational tool for our annual Oshkosh hands-on event. We've done it 8 years running. In 2019, we did not have a project to do for that year, so we started the Odyssey. And since that period of time, there's been so much interest in the project from social media and other events that we decided to go ahead and monetize the project, get it funded, and move that project forward. And that's what we've done. So Mark mentioned earlier about the ACI, Advanced Composite Infusion. That is a Facebook page, ACI, Advanced Composite Infusion, where if you want to follow the Odyssey or the Starlight, you can do it there. It's a give back page that I update every single week, sometimes 3 or 4 times a week. So everything from the very beginning when we started making parts in here to where we are today, you'll be able to find on that website, on that Facebook page. So I wanted to share with you where we are, all the unique things that have happened, the equipment we've acquired, and how the project's coming along. So first of all, my company is ODG Composites, and it is a composites company. The company that will be selling the kits that we're producing is Odyssey Air LLC, and you'll see that here in just a minute. Well, let's go ahead and move into the slides. Okay, once again, thanks for having me. Chapter 280. I'm Russ Emanis, company ODG Composites LLC, and I want to present the state of the projects for both Odyssey and for Starlight. So in order for us to get this done, I've had a bunch of help from a lot of people in order to make this a reality. Some of these people are members of this chapter, some of these people are members of other chapters. Dr. Lloyd Woodward is actually a partner in Odyssey Air LLC. So, big round of applause for those that helped. Jim has been a very significant participant in this project. He works for me full time. Philip, back there, Mr. Mancha, he works on the project full time. Got Roy, when he's in town, he comes by and helps and works with us there. Right now he's doing some control linkage design work and things of that nature. So just wanted to give a shout out to these guys because it's been really important to have the kind of help that we've got in order to make this a reality. So the big news is that as I got going with Odyssey, it became apparent to me that as we started moving into this, I needed another product to go with or to piggyback on with Odyssey. Odyssey is a brand new clean sheet aircraft, and therefore I haven't solicited any sales or any deposits or anything of that nature until we go test fly. But I wanted to have something to be able to go to market with now, and so we acquired all of the intellectual property, all the tooling, the molds, the engineering, the drawing for Starlight. So Odyssey Air LLC now owns that, and we are actually building our first production aircraft. So if you'll give me just a minute here, let me introduce Timothy. Come on up, Tim. Why don't you tell them who you are and your excitement and all that good stuff.
Yeah. Hey everybody, my name is Tim Bleefnick. Retired Air Force, F-16 avionics is my background, and I work for Lockheed now on the F-35 program, and I was looking for a small aircraft for like a local type mission set where I could, go out and have a good time, maybe with some friends, go to Red Claw, go to things like that locally. And then I was introduced to Russ, and he said, got just the airplane for that. And we started talking about Starlight, and we got further into the discussions on this aircraft, and I'm just blown away with the future potential of this airframe, and so I'm jumped on board, and I want to buy the first one.
She's yours. Okay, so when we acquired the Starlight, the aircraft was designed by Mark Brown here in Texas in 1982, down out of San Antonio. And so all of the information, the data, the tooling, everything we got was from that period. So what we've done is we've updated how we're going to build the aircraft. We're staying within the plans as they were originally done, and we have changed some of the parts of the aircraft, like the spars. The spars were originally to be spruce spars with fiberglass spar caps on them. Spruce has gone out of sight, much less it's even more difficult to get the material. So we have engineered a all-new composite spar for the airframe. We are replacing the wood skins that originally was used to cover the Starlight wings with carbon fiber composite skins, but the build will be essentially identical. You'll follow the same steps. Instead of wood, you're just using pre-manufactured composite panels. So really excited to have that. We will have the aircraft at Oshkosh. We've already got the booth for both the Odyssey and the Starlight. And we've also already got our spot for our annual composites program as well. So it ought to be a busy, fun time. So these are the two aircraft. For those of you that have never seen an Odyssey, that's the Odyssey right there. This particular rendition is the electric EDFs, the electric ducted fans. We have some challenges with that in being able to carry enough battery for any meaningful sustained flight. We know we can sustain flight right now at about 30 minutes. So we will continue with development on that. I'm working with a company out of Florida on the battery packs and the controllers. We think by next year that system's going to be much more viable and give us at least a 45 to 50 minute time opposed to 30 minutes time. That said, the airframe was designed to be able to utilize multiple types of power plants. If you're familiar with the Cree, the Cree was a very tiny little T-tailed airplane. It was aluminum, and it had two engines up in the front with little gas motors in the front. Well, they've put little jet engines on the front of them. They put electric engines on the front of them, and they fly and they work out just fine. We can do essentially the exact same thing with the Odyssey. We have a T-tail version of the Odyssey, and we have a V-tail version of the Odyssey. We're building both. The V-tail version of the Odyssey is going to be our gas fan propulsion system, which this is the first time that I've shared that with the public. It's a very unique, very different type of propulsion system. We think that it's going to take ducted fan flight to the next level. Typically, ducted fans have been propellers put inside a tube. What we've basically done is we've taken turbine fan technology, and we'll be spinning that up with the gas engine. So with what we have right now, the numbers are showing us about 180 pounds continuous static thrust with a velocity of over 300 miles per hour out the pipe. So we feel like we should have some interesting results with that. The problem with a ducted fan with a propeller versus the fan is that at airspeed, the pressures really start to affect the efficiency and effectiveness of a propeller in a duct. Whereas with this fan, it actually continues to compress, and the faster you go, it helps it compress even more. So I wanted to just pass that. So ODG Composites will be handling all of the composite manufacturing of all of the pieces and the parts that go into the kits. We will then sell those pieces and parts to Odyssey Air, who will then sell the kits to the end user, the builder, or whatever. But we will do the kit development, and we will do the fulfillment of the kits. I own ODG Composites with a partner. I'm 75, she's 25, and we're 50-50 doctor with me at Odyssey Air. That's how that breaks out. So again, you've got the T-tail and the V-tail version. Now, I just got some fantastic news on Thursday. The jet engine to do the V-tail with, to put it on par with the Sonex jet, the manufacturers offered us the engine at such a ridiculous price that I have to buy it. So we are going to be acquiring that engine. We will develop that. It won't be at Oshkosh, but that is certainly going to happen. And this is kind of a general layout of the aircraft, so you can kind of see the size that it is. The overall dimensions is 1411, and that is accurate. So it is a relatively small airplane. It's bigger than a BD-5 and slightly smaller than a Subsonics. Now, Stuart, come on up for a second. Okay, so as we mentioned earlier, we have a new propulsion system, and because Stuart's business has been in business a very long time with a very, very good track record. Beautiful product, a strong product, a safe product. I selected him and his company to do the development work for our upspeed transmission to get us to the RPMs that we actually need to drive the aircraft. So if you don't want to take a few minutes here and
Sure.
and share with them what you're doing.
Yeah, this is a little different what we normally do. We usually slow down engine speed for propellers. In this instance, a ducted fan like this makes its best performance at about 10,000 RPM. So we're having to actually increase the piston engine speed up to 10,000 RPM. And that's what this gearbox does. It's got a unique coupler on both ends of the gearbox. All that weighs about 24 pounds. Which is really pretty lightweight, considering we're using as many off-the-shelf parts as we can. Between the engine and the fan, the drive shaft and the rest of the couplers on that, that only weighs about 7 pounds. And the fan itself components is phenomenal weight, is 6.5 pounds. So this, all of it, everything, the hardware, everything adds up to about 39 pounds total. It's a very lightweight system. It's built to be robust and as maintenance free as we can keep it and simple to operate. Basically, this is all going to sit behind the pilot. He'll have some instruments inside the cockpit for oil pressure, oil temperature, engine RPM, speed, fan RPM, but everything's behind him. So he's got to be able to trust what he's flying, sight unseen. So we've kept that in mind in the design of this entire thing. Yeah, there's some detailed views of it. We've got fully developed drawings to send out for CNC quotes that we're working with. One particular company right now.
Yeah.
These are some more of the, and this is more for cost and time. These are off-the-shelf gears. They're similar to what we use in our other products. This is our input shaft gear. It's small. So output shaft gear, that's how we get an increase in RPM. It's very simple, very robust. They're probably over-designed, and we could probably lose about 4 pounds if we really design these down to what they need to be. But like I said, it took 2 weeks to get these. And they're only $165. It's really hard to beat that. But this whole thing is designed to be cost-effective. We're not trying to design something that has to be made out of titanium or anything like that. We could eventually change this from an aluminum case to a composite case and do a bunch of other things that would reduce weight, but that has to come with volume. This is just prototype development right now.
Is this electric driven?
No, sir. Gas.
It's gas driven.
Sure
The engine's going to run about 6,500 RPM, and with this gear ratio that'll produce 10,000 RPM on the fan. We actually have a range on the fan of what, 8 to 12?
8 to 12.
But
Where it's really efficient.
yeah, efficient.
What type engine?
It's a MZ202. I'll share that with y'all next month.
All right.
Yeah. He's still waiting for that to get shipped.
It actually is here.
Is it?
Well, it's on its way from Florida right now.
Excellent,
Yeah.
excellent. We've been waited a long time for that.
So I wanted to share this with y'all because I think he's done a great job on the design. He's done a great job on utilizing off-the-shelf parts. He's done a great job of keeping the weight down and a really fantastic job of putting something together as quickly as you have. And for that, sir, I thank you.
You're welcome. It's been fun.
Okay, so from the beginning, it all started right here at Chapter 280. During that time, Jim was here. He was the president of the chapter, and he allowed me to ask for volunteers, and I did get a lot of volunteer help. And we did the original parts in my garage at home. We shaped them, hot wired them, glassed them, and then brought a lot of parts here and glassed and shaped here and did the Duratec work here, a lot of that. And we did make the show for Oshkosh in 2019 with the molds for the fuselage, and we made the first fuselage there at the show. So it was a lot of fun. It was a big success, and it was at that point just a hobby project. But dreams do come true. So it's evolved from the garage to a 1,000 square foot facility to where we're at now, which is a 7,500 square foot facility, and we're looking to purchase 15 to 20,000 square foot after the first of the year. Right now we're just packed in. I mean, it's grown that much. So one of the biggest challenges we had was getting all the patterns and all the plugs and patterns done so we could get to the tooling that was required to be able to build the airplane. And so Philip and even Roy and several others helped and contributed a lot as we hand shaped a lot of this stuff. And today we have lots and lots and lots of molds. There's so many more molds than are here. It's crazy, and we still have more molds to build, and they'll be finished over the next month and a half. This particular mold here is leading edge tools for the Starlight. That's part of that change I was telling you about. One of the things on the Starlight is that the wings, since they were all wrapped in wood, none of the leading edges were exactly the same. And so being able to do it out of composite, all the leading edges are always going to be exactly the same, and all the skins will always be exactly the same. And so this is actually the original tooling that we made in my driveway. We made this in my driveway, and you can see Phil standing back there looking at me. And that's Jim's office right back there, that big white room. He has the biggest office in the building. And this is Starlight tooling. I wanted you to be able to see that all of this stuff was built in 1982. And there's a bunch there. And I was just showing Timothy this morning, we're about to finish all of the parts for his kit. So it's literally happening. These are the Starlight molds, and his fuselage is actually in there. They're ready to come out. There's a little bit of carbon fiber reinforcement that needs to be done in these two halves, and then we'll be moving them over to the build fixtures, which we spent quite a bit of time and effort to create some build fixtures so we could replicate things as we move through the process. The process for building the parts are these two systems. Several years ago, I conceived and gave to the world, the market, double bag infusion. It's a very unique process for highly controlled resin content for an infused part. It's very much on par with what you can get in an autoclave until you go several atmospheres. Vacuum infusion is the process that we typically use for every part that we make. That allows us to get the highest amount of consolidation possible and the best resin to fiber volume ratios. Typically with a standard day or 1,013 millibars, we can get right at 40% resin content, 60% fiber content, and that is on par with pre-preg. Pre-pregs are generally speaking 40 to 42%, so that's where we need to be for aircraft parts, and this is the process that we use. And this is kind of an example of how a part is made. You can see that we've got a mold, and it had to be prepped first. An in-mold coating, which I own a coatings company, and the coatings company, we created a very unique, specific type of end mold coating that gives you Class A surface finishes for epoxies. You've usually only been able to get those type of surface qualities using gel coat with polyester resins. This system is designed specifically for epoxy, so we can do any color we want and get Class A finishes out of the mold. And that product is taken off really, really well. It's called Element Extreme. And I'll show some of that next time we come around. But you can see that the first laminates have to go down on the mold. In this case, it's glass. This is a seat that you're looking at. And then the cores go on top of that, which is the green that you're seeing. And then your second laminates would come on top of this, which in this case is carbon. And then on top of that, you would put your peel ply, then your flow media, and then we put plumbing on each part, so we can release resin into the part, and it'll flow through the part, and the flow media spreads it out evenly, so that you get a nice consistent wet out. The plumbing is what delivers it, and then obviously a vacuum bag on top of all of it. You pull the vacuum, consolidate it, release resin, it flows through. Generally 24 hours to cure, and you can pull them out of the mold, and then trim the part. And here you can see in our middle room at the shop, we've got several parts here in process, and we did them all at the same time. So generally we'll try to line up 5 to 6 molds at a time and get them all under vacuum and ready to go, and then we'll move down the line, infusing one after the other, after the other, after the other. Works out pretty good. Here's some of the first real production parts for Odyssey. You can see that they're all white. That is my coating on their Element Extreme. In terms of weight, it's negligible in terms of comparison to what a gel coat part would be versus this. With Element Extreme as a coating on a composite part, you're able to get away with 2 to 4 mils, whereas a polyester or vinyl ester type of coating, minimum's going to be 14 mils, typically 24 mils, in order to get a dried thickness of 14 mils. So very, very thin and very, very strong and extraordinarily UV stable.
Stand by for part 2.